You cannot tell a hungry person that you gave him food yesterday, especially those suffering who have come from far away rural villages of Bharat for their cancer treatment. Cancer Patients Aid Association's 52-year-old holistic approach towards cancer care has always looked beyond just the treatment. It aims to save lives of those who can't afford the treatments. Thousands of patients and their families have benefited from CPA's food bank so far. Now, along with making the treatment available to those who are underprivileged, CPA also provides for food grains, vegetables, fruits, and other staples to build the immunity of the patients that have a high risk of getting other illnesses like COVID, for example. We are building a fund to sustain this meal program for the next 3 months. We can't do this alone. And that is why we need your help. A small contribution of just 1,000 rupees can ensure food for one patient for an entire month. Help CPA sustain this meal program so that no patient sleeps on an empty stomach. They're already fighting cancer. Let's help them fight hunger. Every little contribution from you will help these people stay strong and give them hope to keep fighting.
Mr. Vivek Oberoi, welcome to ITV Gold. Thank you for giving us your time today.
Hey Aditi, it's always a pleasure. Namaste, salam, sat sri akal to all those who are watching.
Yes, of course. We have you here because there's so much happening in India and there's so much work that you're doing. So let's go right into it. My first question has to be, how are you doing and how is your family doing right now? You guys are in Mumbai. Mumbai is being hit so terribly bad by COVID-19. How has the experience been for you and your family since last year and especially on the second wave?
Well, thank you for asking, Aditi. It's been tough. It's not been easy in Mumbai. The first wave was challenging, but the second one, I think, caught us unawares. It is much harder than we anticipated. So that's been a nightmare to deal with. I don't think anybody in India was ready for the second wave to be this much more contagious, and so many people that we know have passed away, friends, family. Right. Before we could even take action. So it's been a tough one. And Mumbai specifically, the West Coast got hit very recently by the cyclone just after that. So it's not been great. I mean, we've been hit by the cyclone on the West Coast a couple of weeks ago, 10 days ago, and now we've been hit by a cyclone on the East Coast, right, which is also taking many lives. It's been a tough one for India. This last couple of months have been very, very difficult.
Right, and I know you've been, interacting with a lot of frontline workers, and you're also sort of been on the field. I'd like to know what kind of conditions have you seen so far? We're hearing the hospital system is so overwhelmed that they do not know what to do even now. What have you seen?
I think there are way too many problems for any country to deal with these kind of numbers, Aditya. I mean, you're lucky. And God forbid it ever happens in the United States in this way, where you have a wave like this, which is just, take the last one and multiply it by 4. And if this kind of wave hits anywhere, I think any kind of hospital administration system is going to be fighting to deal with it, because no country has that kind of a massive infrastructure to be able to deal with this kind of volume all at one time. We were caught with deficiencies in the oxygen supply chain. A lot of people passed away just because they couldn't get oxygen in time, and that was heartbreaking to see. Otherwise healthy people just couldn't fight COVID. But a lot has happened since. I mean, the government has pulled up its socks. People have mobilized, and I think that touches the heart most is people from all across the globe. The doctors in India have put in that extra energy. They've gone the extra miles, slept those few hours lesser to try and treat more patients, stay at the hospitals longer hours, put themselves at risk at the same time. And I know a lot of doctors who've passed away because of the lack of oxygen when they got infected. So it's been an incredible display of the human spirit. I know so many desis living all over the world that have just reached out and pitched in and said, we want to do something, we want to contribute some way or the other. So many amazing organizations that are hell-bent on saving lives and not allowing COVID to get the better of us. And I think all that help, all that assistance from all over the globe, and also the spirit of the Indian Medical Association, the doctors, I think has somewhere managed to curb the menace to quite an extent, and we see a serious reduction in terms of numbers now. A lot more people are coming out of COVID alive and surviving it. And I think the infrastructure is also just beginning to cope. We've got a lot of oxygen concentrators that have come in from all over the world, and that's helped a lot. And a lot of people actually from America have sent in oxygenators and things like that.
Yes.
So big thank you to everybody who's pitched in.
Yes, of course. The Desi community here is basically reliving last year that we saw here, the devastation with COVID-19. It seems like it's happened again to us because it's happening back home. I have to ask you this. It's a little controversial, but the international media has been very critical of the Indian government, especially in the beginning of the second wave. They have blamed the Modi government. They have blamed the Prime Minister. My question to you is, do you think India opened up too fast? Should we have had Kumbh Mela or these election rallies? How do you sort of have analyzed what happened in India?
Well, Aditi, what they say is hindsight is always 20/20.
Right.
Just a few months ago, before the second wave hit, everybody here in India felt that COVID's over, it's done. It's, move on, life's normal again. Let's start planning holidays, let's start getting back to work, let's start filming, let's start planning shoots, me included. I mean, all of us just decided that it's done, it's over. The worst of it is done, and, we don't need to worry. The vaccinations are around the corner, and nobody anticipated that suddenly the second wave would creep up from nowhere and amplify the way it did. I think even if we knew that it was coming, it would have been difficult to cope to this degree. People forget that the government is also made up of human beings. They're us, a part of our society. And I think just like how all of us were chilling and taking it easy, maybe the administration too didn't take the threat of the second wave too seriously. And by the time they got into action and they corrected, the course, I think it cost us too many lives. In hindsight, if you ask me, if they had known then that this kind of wave would erupt, I don't think any political rallies or public functions would have been allowed. People wouldn't have taken those steps. But you have to understand that, around that time, people thought around February, March, that it's done, it's over, and, the world is free of COVID and COVID's done. Nobody realized that the second wave was a serious reality. Everybody thought that was just people being, overcautious. But we've been proved wrong.
Yeah, it's still so unbelievable what's happening in India. I'd now like to talk to you about the non-profit work that's been going on in India and also across the world. Could you please discuss the works and the causes that you have been working with? I know there's this I'm Oxygen Man, campaign, but you also have Project Devi. You have other charity work that you do. What's happening in all of those, and how much assistance have you had to give to these works?
Well, Aditi, the last time we spoke, you asked me, and I mentioned to you that philanthropy is a really large pillar in my life, a really important aspect of my life. I'm as much a philanthropist as an actor, and I spend that much time, energy, and money working towards philanthropy. So I'm Oxygen Man was a big success story. We set out to raise $1 million, to set up a 200-bed COVID care facility, which is now expanding to 2,000 beds. By the grace of God, in the last 4 weeks alone, we've saved more than 1,000 lives, and brought in oxygen concentrators. Literally set up a COVID care facility, with the exception of the ICU, overnight. I mean, 4 days is all it took for us to set it up in a hostel in Dwarka in Delhi, and it's been saving lives ever since. And that's a tribute to people from all over the world who've contributed to that cause, and also to volunteers who've been not caring about their lives and going out there and in serving patients who are underprivileged and can't afford care. So that's been an amazing experience, and we're growing very fast. The project's growing really, really exponentially. The other thing is something that I've been doing for the last 18 years, which is the cause of pediatric cancer. Children who have cancer and belong to really underprivileged families, mostly rural farmers. They're forced to put everything at stake. Right? They're forced to go to the money lender locally and take astronomically priced loans, give them their lands, give them their homes, their cows, everything they own, and then make the journey to Mumbai to a city with a hospital that can help them with saving their child. So we've been doing that work with Cancer Patients Aid Association for now 18 years. 250,000 children saved over the last 18 years. And that's been an incredible story. But since COVID broke out, the funds have dried up. And while we're managing to get them medicine, what we didn't have to do earlier was feed them. And now we have to take care of them and their families too. So now we've set up a new project to feed them, which is $15 a month can feed a family. And that's what the power of a dollar is in India. Just 1,000 rupees can feed a family for a month in terms of rations and take care of the child itself. And these are people that are already low on immunity, Aditi. So you understand that they're really highly at risk for COVID.
Right.
So we're raising about $135,000 for that. Children Across Borders, a beautiful organization in America that I've worked to fundraise for them earlier, has partnered with us and has committed to put up the first 10,000, hopefully more.
Wow.
We're raising from corporate India. But yeah, I can always send you a link for Cancer Patients Aid Association. And, just $15. That's all it takes to help a child go through for a whole month and, help his family eat for a whole month. So this is the focus has been mainly on this, Aditi.
Right. And, rural India is now seeing a lot of COVID breakouts and it's affecting underprivileged communities. I know you work very closely with a lot of underprivileged community across India. What has been the impact of COVID on those individuals and what kind of help is still needed for them according to you?
Well, you were spot on in saying what you just said, Aditi. I mean, rural India has, been relatively safe in comparison with urban India until the second wave. And the second wave somehow has been able to permeate deep into the fabric of rural India. And they just don't have the facilities. I mean, in my opinion, and I can't say this in an informed way, but the numbers sometimes are totally underreported because people are just so scared about some stigma associated with COVID that, oh my God, the whole family will be ostracized. I'm starting a small campaign now called Dignity in Death because I've realized that there are just so many unclaimed dead bodies right here in Mumbai. The municipal authorities are overwhelmed. The morgues are full. People don't want to claim the bodies because they're scared that they'll catch the virus, they'll contract it. Fear has actually really gripped the nation. So small things like this are also being, the final goodbyes, the final rites are not being done, and people don't know what to do with the bodies that are just lying unclaimed. Similarly, in rural India, you have so many people who just, dumping dead bodies into rivers. And we saw so many of those dead bodies being fished out of the rivers. And it was appalling to see humanity go through that. One is, of course, putting contaminated bodies into a river system where so many people still depend on a daily basis for their drinking water. But the other thing is to do that to a human. There's no dignity in that. You just dumped it into a flowing river. So I think those are the things that we've been dealing with, and it's been horrific. But organizations like Ekal Vidyalaya, who have been, I met you at a fundraiser for Ekal Vidyalaya in America the last time, are doing phenomenal work because they have a footprint now in almost 100,000 plus villages.
Oh, wow.
And, they're able to reach out to people, create awareness, get them medication in time, also try and get them some sort of help if for those who are ill. So I think that kind of intervention is going a long way.
Right. So is Ekal currently raising funds for those individuals in India right now during COVID pandemic?
Yes, I mean, we're in the planning stages of doing a fundraiser for that. But how Ekal works.
Right.
The last fundraiser we did was hugely successful in America. And we did another one after the one I met you at. During COVID, of course, we did an entire United States, all chapters came on live on a digital fundraiser, and we raised a decent amount of money to go back and help with our school systems and providing nutrition to our kids and stuff like that. But that's a great organization that's always in need of funds. I mean, you're looking at 100,000 villages that are involved and dependent. So when you're looking at 100,000 villages, that's a mass. I mean, all of India is 650,000 villages. So that's a large chunk of India. It's 1/6 of the country that they're catering to. So if anybody feels like they want to go and do a bit, these are some great, organizations to contribute to reach out and go online and make a small donation. Every dollar counts at this point. this is the time when your country needs you and humanity needs you.
Right. And it's so important that these nonprofits are working tirelessly right now to provide for these communities in India because there's so much lack of resources and other supplies. How important do you think these nonprofits are, and what do you have to say about the work they have done so far? How does that make you feel?
Well, I'm really proud of the nonprofits that are actually working. You know, there's a lot of nonprofits that are just nonprofits in name. Some of them are just, money laundering stories. But the ones who are actually doing the work on the ground, Cry America, Ekal Vidyalay, Cancer Patients Aid Association, our I'm Oxygen Man initiative, where you can actually see impact. These are life-changing and life-saving for so many people at this time. And the thing is that because NGOs aren't riddled with bureaucracy, right? The government has a system, the administration has a system. No matter how fast you want to act, you have to go through a certain system that slows you down. Whereas the NGOs are driven purely by passion and by humanity and don't need to wait for some sort of bureaucratic story. So they take action really quick, and wonderful people like yourself and people who are watching this back in America, when they reach out and they say, listen, let me support this organization that's doing such good work, it makes all the difference. Children Across Borders in America, they've done such phenomenal work. I mean, the amount of lives they've saved in Goa, for example, in rural Goa, helping set up oxygenators and, life-saving medicine just in the nick of time. Those are the things that make a massive impact in India.
Right. And do you think the help that's been there so far, is it enough, or we need a lot more because India is such a large country?
Well, you answered your own question, Arati. It's never enough, unfortunately. That's something I've realized over the last 18 years. When I started saving the children who had cancer, it started with one kid, one 6-month-old little baby who had acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And I remember walking on late night into the hospital from the sets of Satya. I was shooting for Satya then. And seeing this little child holding her in my arms and saying, okay, I'm going to save this one. And then 1 became 2, and 2 became 20, and then 20 became 250,000 over the last 18 years. The numbers never end. People who need help are constant. And, I just always tell people that we should count our blessings, that we're in the are two kinds of people in the world, those who need help and those who can help. And every time you find yourself in the shoes of people who can help, count your blessings.
Yes, that's so true. I just have a couple of questions left for you, just 2 more. While I still have you here, I have to ask you, what are the projects for this year for you right now? What is your focus? I know you're really into philanthropy, and that will continue to happen because India is going to need help for the rest of the year, let's be honest. But what else are you working on? What are your hopes for this year?
Well, I do a lot of work in social impact startups. These are for-profit organizations. So one of my companies, FinancePeer, which is providing really fast education loans to families that need it, has grown phenomenally well. We're managing a lot of stuff in digital education with another company that I've co-founded called iScholar. So we do a lot of interesting work in the startup space. That's been doing well despite COVID. Especially the tech companies are doing quite well. They've grown a lot. And on the film and entertainment front, I've signed up 4 projects, a few of them to be shot overseas and a couple of them to be shot in India. But these incessant delays, we start shooting and then suddenly, it all shuts down, and then you go back to being in the land of uncertainty, not knowing what's happening next. But yeah, I signed up those projects, exciting scripts, looking forward to shooting them. I haven't even been able to finish my post-production work for Inside Edge 3, which has already been shot, but just the post-production work is left so that we can come out and release it on Amazon Prime. So it's been a tough year for the entertainment industry.
Right.
Tough couple of years, actually, but we'll cope, we'll survive.
Yeah. What is the biggest impact that's been on the film industry, according to you? And, what's happening with the junior artist industry that exists there? Because it seems like they don't really have much work right now.
Yeah, well, so, the junior artists and lightmen and, daily wage laborers in our industry are dependent on constantly working. They need to keep working. They don't have that many savings. Most of their savings have run out. Some of them depend on this work to pay their, rent, to pay their EMIs, to, pay for their kids' education, food. So they've run out, and our organizations, a lot of actors, me included, many of our organizations have banded together and taken the responsibility of many such families, trying to help daily wage laborers, from our industry and junior artists and people like that. Whatever we can do, we've been doing, contributing to at least a few thousand members. But it's been a tough one. And I think the second impact has been on the financial aspects. So theaters, for example, are crumbling. To keep that kind of infrastructure alive, to keep paying to maintain it, and at the same time not have a single footfall, not have enough people buying tickets. That's hit them hard. And the uncertainty of it all, right? Thinking that it's all going to open up. Lockdowns have opened up in the past, and then within a month have shut down again. So suddenly you're out there filming, you have all the permissions, and then the government can't, do anything but ask you to stop filming and go back home. So the cost of logistics has hit the producers, the costs of shutdowns has hit the producers, the studios have been hit, and the exhibition industry, the theater chambers, they've been hit the hardest, and they were our largest, point of sale for distribution of our films, and revenue from that has become zero.
Do you think it will now go into a digital space? I know some movies are now streaming straight because the theaters aren't open. How are you looking at it when you're looking at your projects?
Well, I think I was the first mainstream actor in India to jump onto the digital bandwagon Inside Edge Season 1. So I understand the importance of it, and I think that's the lifesaver right now. Whatever you're being able to film right now, a lot of people are getting away to places that are still open, where the second wave hasn't hit us hard. Trying to find pockets to go out there and film and come back. That content is, at least kind of providing jobs and food at the table for our industry folk. And I think it's a big thank you to all the OTTs, Netflix and Amazon and MX Player, Z, all these big guys in India, Disney Hotstar, who are continually buying content. And that's what's keeping the industry afloat.
Yes, of course. Well, my last question to you is actually about the fact that you've been a youth icon since you began in the industry, and there's a lot of people that look up to you. After hearing about all of this, what do you hope they take out of that? And, what do you think the Indian youth right now should be doing about what's happening in India?
I think be a part of it, right? Like I said, that, Seva is for the fortunate few. Very few get an opportunity to do Seva. And this is an opportunity to go out there and serve humanity, to serve your own kind, whether it's India or Africa or whichever country in the world you want to serve. But serve people and be involved, become part of it. If you have $100, give one. If you have $1,000, give 100. I don't know. You pick and decide what you want to do. Set something up for yourself as a target that I'm going to impact these many lives and help these many people. And that to me will make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, such great advice. I really appreciate you giving us your time, and we will be definitely displaying all the charities that you have mentioned so people can actually go and donate, because that's the most important thing right now. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much, Aditi. It's always a pleasure.